As you are starting to change in your life and the outside world seemingly is kicking up a storm, including the people in your life, how can you stay on track when it seems like everything around you is kind of almost trying to prevent you from fully changing? Well, today I'm going to be giving you a crucial idea to understand and implement that will prevent that from ever happening again, so you don't become derailed when certain things start kicking up, and how you can start to understand that as you change, things around you will start to change, and how to get to the point kind of where you go past the line of everything starting to kick up and stay with it, so that it starts to become everything starts to change around you. So essentially, we're going to be going over how you can stick with it when all of this is starting to happen. And really, one of the biggest signs that means you are powerfully creating your reality. And it's not what you expect. Most people think it's one thing and it's actually the opposite. And we're going to be going over what that massive sign is, so you can understand when this is coming in your life, it's actually a good thing. And it means that you're starting to create your reality powerfully. Although it's hard for many people to grasp this or believe this or be open-minded enough to really take this on board, you are co-creating everything that's in your reality, everything that's in your life. However, this is not happening from the conscious mind, which is why a lot of people have a disconnect from this idea. They think, well, I haven't created this isn't what I want, but it's not created from the conscious mind. Now today you are going to learn how you can stick with creating the thing you do want to create consciously, and how to take that and actually apply these principles so it is created. But a lot of people resist this idea because they go, well, I don't want this thing, it's in my life, surely I didn't create it, but it is the case. So first thing on this process is we have to become aware of this fact, and most importantly, take responsibility for this instead of trying to blame everything outside of us. And the thing is, we cannot move forward if we do not accept that responsibility. You know, we can stay in a perpetual kind of state of victimhood if we so choose, but you're never going to be able to create your reality intentionally if you do this. And so it is a crucial first step to just accept that, okay, or learn to accept that I've created everything. That doesn't mean feel guilty or shame about it. There's no guilt or shame here. But just to understand that through laws and principles you may not understand yet, you have created it. And so let's learn how to play the game so that we're no longer creating a reality, or you're creating a reality that you don't want consciously. And the thing is, and what's such a trap with the victim state of being, is if you are creating your reality in the way I'm suggesting, and I'm just going to tell you this is so, and you'll learn more of this over time, then if you see yourself as a victim, if you are always relating to life as if you're a victim and you're creating reality, doesn't it go to say that you are continually creating circumstances and things in your life that reinforce being a victim? And this is why being in victimhood is such a trap and such a loop, because you are creating your reality, but even though you are a creator, you have the power to deny your own powers of creation and start creating more victimhood and start creating circumstances that reinforce that, and to start creating more and more beliefs that fire and wire and reinforce that idea, and it becomes this perpetuating loop where you never get out of it until you finally realize, I'm not a victim. I've created all of these things in one way or another. I'm not saying the specific things that have come in, but the conditions, the environment for those things to come in. And once you can accept this and move beyond this, we can move to the other parts we're going over in this video, and you can start to apply them. But I'm just going to say right now, until you accept responsibility for your life, you cannot move forward. And there's no getting around this. There's no sneaky way to kind of trick life and go in a different direction. And life's like, oh, where did they go? Oh, I don't see them being a victim over there. No, you can't fool the laws of the universe. You can't fool God, source, whatever you want to call it. It knows the energy to state you are emanating, and until you move beyond victimhood, we cannot intentionally create. But having this awareness that you are co-creating all of it, you are in cooperation with life, with source, with the all from which you actually come from, then we can start cooking. And what we're going to be cooking is a brand spanking new reality that you actually want to live in. So I'm assuming if you're still with me, you've made the decision that if there's any victimhood in you, you're going to work on transcending that, you're going to take responsibility, so great, we can move on. Now, something that's really important to understand is everything you see physically in your life is actually energy. And actually, one thing to keep in mind and might actually connect some dots for you and give you an aha moment is everything you see in your physical reality, the physical world, is actually an energetic history. This is because it takes some time for energy to really gather and become physical. It takes a lot of focus and power and attention in a particular direction for it to come into the physical, which means the actual energetic state that started to create whatever's now here happened quite a bit of time ago. It's kind of like you hear when, a star, you see like a star in the night sky and someone says, actually that star is not even alive anymore, it's kind of extinguished, but you're seeing the light after so much time because of how long it travels to get here. It's kind of similar with the energetic state that you're in. It takes some time before it travels into the physical realm. And what that means is everything you see around you is not the result of the state you're in right now. It's the result of the state you were in weeks, months, and even years ago. You are looking at a history. You were looking at the past, my friend, when you were looking at your physical reality. And this is going to be an incredibly important point as we go through this, especially when it comes to reality creation and how this all works. But just remember and keep this in mind that your physical reality is simply your energetic history. And just as a caveat, this means that people who feel victimized by their current circumstances are feeling victimized by the past, something that is history. And then people try and control it, and you're literally trying to control something that is over. That is the past, that has already happened, right? It's not something that is occurring in this moment. The thing that's occurring in this moment is your state, your energy, the context you give things, your energetic relationship to exactly what happened right now in this moment. But everything you're seeing is a past. And so stop trying to rewrite the history that is showing up physically from an energetic past. And let's focus on the now and what we can do with our power now. So here's where the topic and kind of title of today's video starts to come into play, but we need to understand those first two parts before we move on. We need to accept responsibility. We need to understand this is our energetic history, and to create a new energetic history, we have to plant new seeds, right? If you have a garden and you don't like the plants that are there, well, you can't just scream at an apple tree and expect it to be an orange tree. But what you can do is uproot, let's see if you need some more space, the apple tree, and then plant the orange tree seeds and start to cultivate those. But we need to understand that before we move on to what we're about to cover here. Now, why the title of this video is They Will Change As You Change, or As You Change, They Will Begin to Change, is something that's going to happen once you get through this stage we're covering right now. But the reason a lot of people don't see this happening is because this is the stage where most people give up or fail, or the only way you can really fail this stage is if you quit. Because what happens in this stage is now you understand taking responsibility, so you've taken it. Great. That's a huge step forward. Then you're maybe like, okay, I've planted some seeds that have created the fruits in my life right now. This is my energetic history. I'm not a fan of this history. I want to change it, so I need to plant some new seeds. And so you start cultivating those seeds. You start watering those seeds. And what happens after this is chaos starts playing out in your life. And a lot of people are confused by this because they thought, well, I'm thinking more positively. I'm planting new seeds. Why is there this chaos? Why is there this breakdown? Why are things seemingly falling apart? And this is because your previous energetic history that you're seeing around you is being uprooted. Now, when something is uprooted, what happens? Does it stay in the garden or is it removed? Does it also get to be there and you get to, have both this new world and this old world? Or is it that the old one has to be cleared out? The garden has to be kind of taken apart, kind of uprooted, and kind of reinvigorated before you can plant the new, or for the new to kind of sprout up, right? Well, that's exactly what happens in your life as well. Certain things are going to be removed because you're resonating on a new level of frequency that doesn't support your previous energetic past or energetic history. And so those things have to be cleared out. For example, let's say you're in a job and you hate the job and it's not going to support you where you're going. You might get fired from that job and you might perceive that as, wait, bad things are happening. I got fired. What am I going to do? I got fired. That must mean this isn't working. Actually, it means 100% it is working because it is taking things that are no longer in alignment with the energy you are moving towards. You're changing, right? And so things around you are beginning to change and no longer support you. And so for you to get a more aligned job, to maybe start that business you've wanted to start, to maybe, have a much better boss or a better situation, something has to give way. Something has to be uprooted for that to start growing. Now, this can happen in many different areas. Certain circumstances, certain people, and other things need to start leaving or they need to start changing. Another good example is you might be in a relationship that you got into at this level with the previous energetic history you had, but you're going here. There's only two things that can happen in this situation. Either they rise up with you, which is rare, because if they're not doing the work, if they're not aware of these things, it doesn't usually happen. But it has happened, it can happen. But usually what will happen is this person might start becoming very annoying. They might start becoming so much worse than they were before, because I'm assuming there's a disconnect here. If you're going here, maybe there's been problems, whatever else it is, and you go, oh, it's fine, you've let them go. But it's going to get louder and more chaotic. So let's say you have a partner and they're just being, like the things that you dislike in them are just going to get louder and louder and more chaotic and more severe. And what's happening is life is encouraging one of two things to happen. And that is either for you to kind of let it go and break up with this person, or for them to do it to you. Or the third option is you come back down and resonate here and hook back into your old energetic history, and then it will calm down and there will be equilibrium. But if you want equilibrium to now be up here with this new history where you've actually changed, this has to be let go of, and life is just providing opportunities, is providing ways in order for that thing to be removed so you can start on this new life, on this new reality you're creating. Because guess what? Certain things in this new reality you're moving into won't support things that were down here in your current reality. Now, this chaos is necessary in what's called the law of continuity. It has to have the things in your old life still there. And so you're changing, but the things in your old life are going to still be there for a little bit of time until they're kind of uprooted. And really the goal here is to just feel it out and allow what's being uprooted to be uprooted. And once that happens, you're going to start to notice that as you change, people in your life change. As you change, circumstances in your life begin to change, and they start to change fast. What prevents this change from happening quickly, what prevents this change, and people think I'm doing the right things, is they're actually at this step always going backwards. And then they go back the steps again, and then they go backwards. And then they're going through the steps again. And so really they're kind of like taking 3 steps forward. They get to this part we're talking about. There's chaos. Okay, they go backwards. And then they get remotivated and they take a few steps forward. And it's like, okay, I'm planting the seeds again. Oh, wait, chaos. I'm going to step back again, back into the old situation. Oh, I'm going to take 3 steps forward. Oh, no, I'm having a lot of turbulence in my job. I don't want to lose my job. That's not aligned anyway, not in my highest, and doesn't support the new reality. I'm scared. Takes a step back again, and you keep going in this cycle. And it's this perpetual cycle of you kind of feel a fear, you get motivated, you take those steps forward again, so you're feeling a bit better, but then you take the fear again, and you're never moving beyond this step, which will actually allow your energetic history to change, and change very quickly. And so embrace the chaos, embrace the bends, even celebrate the bends, understanding that this is actually a loving thing that's happening. That the universe loves you and it's just trying to take these things away because they don't support you in where you're going and where you say you want to go. And so when this chaos comes up, I'll just tell you what I do. For example, I understand it's a bend in the river, and I just say something like this: something positively amazing is unfolding for me now. And if I'm getting hooked into something, this is happening, I'm like, wait a second, I don't need to deal with that. I can just allow that to smooth out. I know if this chaos is coming in my life, it's good because I'm moving up in my consciousness. I'm moving more into my next best or best next reality that I've set out for myself. This is a necessary process, a necessary step in that. If you have no chaos never coming up, right, everything's smooth forever and ever, you're probably not creating a new reality. Because guess what? You don't just have realities that you can shift channels and you permanently, you're like, I have this reality and then this reality and this reality, like it's some kind of buffet. You have to commit to that best next one for you. And it might come included with a lot of different things. But you can't live in the low conscious reality and also the high conscious reality. You can't live a lot in the lower self and then expect to have the higher self things, right? You have to actually change. These things will start to, shift themselves, and then they begin to change to match this new reality if you stay in your knowingness and stay committed to it. So now if you follow these previous steps, and of course it's easier said than done, but it really is this simple. We take people through a 6-month program to pretty much guarantee that this happens, hold their hand when things are kicking up. We remind them of these ideas. We go deep into these things. So I can understand it might seem daunting, but if you stick with those first three, you're going to start seeing massive changes in your life. And it can happen so fast if you do this really well, if you really commit to this. We see people in our 6-month program within the first month having unbelievable changes that they can't even believe. Because once you go through this process and you go through it with someone who knows how, like it just works. But what's going to happen is you're going to start noticing a lot of changes because now you're changing. And again, you're taking those steps forward. And you're changing and you're committing to change and you keep taking those steps forward. The chaos, you keep taking those steps forward. You stay in your knowingness. Even when the storm is there, you start to realize it's a good thing. Life has my back. The universe has my back. This is for my benefit. You keep stepping forward instead of what, again, most people do. They take those steps forward. A month goes by, 2 months, and they're doing it, but then the chaos comes up, and then they're right back where they started. And then they do it, and it even becomes a kind of habitual thing, and then they're back again. And so what we teach people to do is they get to this place where a lot of people get to, and we help them take that next step boldly forward. And then they realize everything's okay. I'm like, oh, I can take another step forward. Oh my God, everything's still okay. Some things are falling apart, but I feel great. And now this thing's starting to come in, and they take another step forward until I'm basically at the lens of the camera and give you a little kiss. Okay, so we'll go back now. But ultimately, you're now going to start seeing things change in your life. And your circumstances are going to start improving seemingly out of nowhere. It's not going to be in a way that you think it's going to happen. This is another thing that when we're at the end of our EMF program after 6 months, I'll always ask everyone, like, how has it gone for you and what results did you get? And it always, like, they'll discuss, like, I had no clue this was going to come in. I had no idea how this was going to happen. I don't even know how this happened, right? Because it's always going to happen in a non-linear fashion. So give up the need of needing to know how it comes in and be excited to be surprised by life, and life will surprise you in beautiful, beautiful ways. But certain things are going to start coming in out of left field. You may notice little things as you start doing this as well, like people are just being way friendlier to you. Like people are just like offering you things, like things that are helpful to you, right? You might find that you're starting to get some things for free. I started noticing, just more people being incredibly just kind and friendly. I started noticing myself becoming friends with people like that too. And you just start noticing that people around you begin to change. And even people currently in your life, I don't want to say this in the way you should hope for this or expect this. But I noticed, for example, like loved ones, family members also started to change around me and treated me differently, almost with more respect, kind of more open with me, more playful with me. And so magical things begin to happen, and that's just scratching the surface of what can begin to happen. Again, it's going to be unique per person because it's going to come out of left field. I've seen people's businesses completely change. We had someone who basically, again, the whole job scenario, that's what happened to her. She knew it was right to let go of a job because it didn't align with her. And, there's the fear and everything that, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? And in about, I think, a week or two, she got a new job with better pay, doing something she would much rather do. And it actually happened again to her recently because she's just moving more and more forward with courage, and life is providing the results because she's opening up that space and continuing to go like this. Again, not going like this, but continuing to take that step forward, embracing the bends, understanding, having that awareness and application of these universal principles. Essentially, everything around you begins to change. Why? Because you've changed. And again, who creates your life? Who creates your reality? Who is responsible for everything happening in your life from a co-creative perspective? You. And so when you truly change, when you actually do that, which most people don't, they want the idea. Most people essentially, and I'm going to say this, I'm not saying you watching this is you, but something to keep in mind. It's something that helped me a lot. Most people want others to believe that they want to change. They'll even convince themselves that they're changing. But true change, actually doing what's necessary, going, embracing the chaos, investing in things that'll help them with that, committing to it fully, not a lot of people do that. And that's what's required to actually change yourself. And when you change, everything around you changes. If things around you are not changing, you may have not truly changed as of yet, or you're just not far enough in the process. But don't use that as a cop-out. A lot of people think, I'm just not far enough yet. Changes happen very, very quickly when you truly commit to change. It doesn't take long. It can take a month, it can take 2 months sometimes. I've seen it happen in about a month with people I've worked with, right? So it does not need to take long. If it's been years upon years upon years and you're like, oh, it's fine. I'm almost there, whatever it is, well, no, whatever you're doing is not working. You're probably kind of doing one of these again, like we talked about. And I just don't want you to fall into that trap because I see so many people fall into this trap. Doing one of these, it feels like progress, and then you're back here. And then from here, yeah, this is progress. But ultimately, if we look at your trend over time, it's like this, never actually going up. And it's like this, and it's a straight line across there. And so nothing's actually improving. It's just the illusion of improvement because you feel a little better, took a few steps forward, but then you're taking steps back, never making that next step that's really necessary, the next level, right? Kind of graduating to the next grade. It's always like going between kindergarten and second grade back and forth for some reason, right? So I just don't want you to fall into that trap. In fact, if you want to dive even deeper into this and kind of get more of a grasp of why is it the outside world follows the inner world, I gave you some stuff here, but there's actually a law of the universe, a principle that's so crucial to understand that is why this even happens. It's called the mirror principle, and I go into depth in this video on how the mirror principle works. This is going to tie so much of what you learned today, or your first exposure to what you learned today, together, because this is the principle this is playing off of. It is a universal principle. It works for every single person, and I'm also going to give you some more kind of information and wisdom that's going to help you apply it that much more powerfully.